Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. We'll go and get started. So today we'll be talking about Desk.com and just getting started with it. We'll be discussing the actual navigation and setup of the admin console specifically here today. Let's see here, next slide. So, my name is Brian Suh. I'm the onboarding and training specialist here at Desk.com. For the past 5 years, I've been working with different SaaS companies to help with their internal and customer onboarding. Bob here, he's our technical support senior engineer, and I have him on the line. So, Bob, do you want to give a quick introduction about kind of your experience with Desk here and your expertise here?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Bob Aloisio. I've been with Desk for 3.5, 3.5 years. I'm the level 3 escalation point for the customer WOW team. We're the support team that you're going to be in contact with when you have any questions. So I'm the technical lead for that team, and we can handle any questions that you might have. Um,
All right, thanks, Bob.
did you?
Oh, sorry. A couple
No.
housekeeping items here. Following our training, which will be just about 30 to 35 minutes long today, we will have a short Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the GoToWebinar questions panel and we'll get them answered towards the end, but keep them coming in as the training goes on. Also, today's training will be recorded and we'll be sending out the recording as well as posting the recording to our YouTube channel. So if you can't stay with us for entire time, that's completely okay. We will send out the recording to you guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see Desk in action. I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Bob here right now, and then he'll actually walk us through the navigation of the admin console as well as setting up a lot of really key important areas within Desk.
All right. So this demonstration that I'm going to do is going to explain how to create a startup workflow for your site. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to create two mailboxes, one for sales and one for support, and then we're going to create a workflow that lets the right agents, the right groups see it, and we're also going to create mailboxes, labels, rules, and filters. So without further ado, let's get started. So when you first try to log into Desk, you need to go to basically yoursite.desk.com/home, and it'll bring you to this screen. We call it the launch screen or the splash screen. And you pick where you want to go. You want to go to agent, you want to go to the admin, or you want to go to business insights to see the reports. You pick where you want to go. For our purposes for this demonstration, we're going to go to the admin panel. So I've logged in already, so that's why it will normally prompt you for a password, but I had already logged in prior, so it just brought me right to the screen. So this is basically the admin console, and the first thing we're going to do is going to create an agent. So what you want to do is you want to go to Team, and then Users, and this is where you create your agents. I already have a few that I've added. You can create either a full-time or a flex agent. In this example, all of our agents are full-time agents. So I'm going to add a new agent named Scott, and let's create the agent. So basically what you do is you go to Team Users, and then you hit the Add User button, and you get your options here on what you want to do for your agent. I'm going to name him Scott, and give him an email address of Scott at I have a fake company called Chapel PC. You can give him a public name. This is just a friendly name. You could call it, Scott the Great if you want. You could call it whatever you want. This is what your customers are going to see your agent as. You can put in a signature if you want. This is the access level of the agent. This is basically the different levels. It goes from agent to administrator, and there's steps in between that have different functions. For this purpose, we're just going to do agent, and then we're going to add him to a group. So I've already got some groups created, sales and support, but I'll show you how to create the groups as well. So I'm not going to add him right now, but I will add him after, after we add the user. So as of right now, Scott is not in a group. What you want to do next is you want to go to team and then groups and create your groups. So basically, groups are just groups of agents that work on certain types of cases. So for our purposes, we have a sales group and we have a support group, and some of my users are already in these groups. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to add Scott to this group because he's a support agent. As mentioned before, you could do it right on the screen when you create the user as well, but for the purposes of this, I just wanted to show you that you could add the user to this group. So what we're also going to do here is we're going to add a third group. So right now we have our sales group, we have our support group. I'm going to add a group for our managers. So we're going to call this group escalations. This is where we're going to send customers who need to be escalated or have an issue that needs to be escalated. And I'm going to add the managers of each group to this group. So I have Bob is the manager of the support team, Caesar is the manager of everybody, and we're going to make Mike the manager of the sales team. So this is where you would want your customers' cases to go, when they have issues that need escalation. So right now we've created our agents, we've created our groups. The next thing we need to do is, figure out how they get their cases. And in this case, we're going to create some email boxes. So to do that, you go to Channels, Email, and then Inbound Mail. And what you'll see when you go here is you'll see that there's already a mailbox created for you with this email address. This is a Postmark mailbox, and Postmark is the default email service that that Desk.com uses. You get this by default with your site. You don't need to use it, but you can. And you can use this to send and receive email if you don't have your own email address or if there's some reason that you need to send to this mailbox. For the purposes of this webinar, we're going to use this mailbox, and I'm also going to add a second box. Now, this mailbox is going to be a Gmail box, which is my own mailbox. You can connect Desk.com to any existing mailbox that you already have using IMAP. So you're not actually creating a mailbox in Desk, you're just creating the connection to the mailbox, just like Outlook does. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create my Gmail account, which I already have created in Gmail, and this is my sales mailbox. So I'm going to name it Sales. I'm going to give it my email address, which is bobdesksales@gmail.com. And I'm going to plug in my password. So that's really it for setting up the mailbox. It just connects to your Gmail account. Just bear with me, a little technical problem here. I must have typed something wrong, so I apologize for that. So that's it. So on the screen you have the option, so after you create your mailbox, you have the option to either say I'm done and just start from that point, or you can import the last 1,000 emails that are in your mailbox that already exist. I'm just going to say I'm done because I don't want to import those. I have some sample ones that I already have in the site. So one other thing I wanted to point out is in the mailbox settings, you have this default group. By default, it's unassigned. For the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to set the Postmark mailbox to be my support group, and I'm going to set the sales mailbox to be my sales group. So as you can see here, Nothing selected now, but I'm going to select sales. You don't have to worry about these other settings. They're more advanced, so if you need to, basically by default, they should fill in what's needed. But if if you do need to play with them, you just need to consult with your IT team. So that's it. So now we have a support mailbox and a sales mailbox. And if you remember back in team groups, we created a sales group and we created a support group. So these users are going to be the ones that get the cases that get sent to those mailboxes. So now that we've configured our mailbox, we've configured our agents, we've configured our groups, we want to look at something called labels. Basically what labels are, they're used to categorize cases. So basically what a label looks like is this. It'll look like this in your agent. But you create them at admin cases and then go to labels. And what we're going to do here for our purposes is we're going to create a escalation label for cases that we want to escalate to the escalation group. So I'm going to add this label called escalate. We're going to make it red because it's a high priority because it's been escalated, and we're going to add the label. So now we have this label, so the cases that need to get sent to managers get appended with a label, and they get sent to the management team so that they can work on the cases. So we've set up that framework, but where do these cases go? Where do cases end up? So what we want to do is we want to create what's called a filter. Now, a filter is, some people call it folders, some people call them queues. In desk terms, they call it filters. It's basically where cases that belong to a certain set of criteria belong. So by default, Desk comes pre-configured with a bunch of different filters. You have all of these here. Some of them are turned off, some of them are on. I generally recommend using these three as your start point and disabling everything else. And then as you build your queues and build your filters, you can turn on and off these other ones. But these are the three that I recommend. The first one here is the My Cases queue. This is cases that are assigned to you, the specific agent. So when Scott looks at My Cases, he's going to see cases that are assigned to Scott. And when Bob looks at My Cases, he's going to see cases that are assigned to Bob. This is basically your work for the day. The next filter is All Cases. This filter contains every case that you worked on as a team. You can modify these filters, you can do whatever you want with them, but by default, this shows you all of your cases, all of your team's cases. Basically shows you everything. And the third one that I recommend, even though it's not required, is the outbox filter. This filter is important because it's used more for troubleshooting, but what it does is when you send a response out of Desk, it goes into the outbox and sits there for a minute or two until the email jobs pick it up and send it. Now that's important because if you start to see emails stacking up in the outbox, that's when you know something might be wrong with your mailbox settings, or there may be something bigger going on with email flow, and you just want to keep an eye on it. Generally speaking, you want to keep this filter at 0. You don't want any cases in it, but it's important to see it and have it visible so that your agents know what they're looking for. So, what we're going to do, now that I explained what these three filters are, I'm going to show you where they exist. And if you go to your agent screen, so now I'm logging into the agent, you'll see these filters are on the left side in your agent. These are your queues. So I just wanted to show you where they are. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple more filters. We're going to add one for the sales team and for the support team. So when you add your filter with its name, you're going to see this screen. This is the configuration of the filter. All a filter really is a set of canned search criteria. So what we're going to do in this case is we want to see all of our active support cases. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it that we want to see cases that are assigned to the support team and cases that are new, open, or pending. So we don't want to see cases that are resolved. We only want to see what's actively being worked. So what you have here is you have your conditions, and in the middle here, this is called the operator. The operator for status contains something called less than or equal. Now, if you look at this list of cases, of statuses, you have new, open, pending, resolved, closed, and deleted. The last three are not really active cases. They're ones that have been worked on and finished. So we really want to see open, new, and pending. So what we're going to do is we're going to say less than or equal to pending, which includes new and open. You have these other options here to sort, change the sort order, the default sort order, and the grouping. We're not going to play with that right now. I just wanted to show you how to create a filter. But then the other thing that we can do here is we can assign this filter to a group. And as you know, we have different agents in the support group versus the sales group because they have different job functions. So we're going to assign this so that only the support group sees these cases that come into this filter. And we're going to enable it, and we're going to update it. So as you see here, you have your three filters, default filters up here, and then you have support all the way down at the bottom. You can move support up if you want so that your support rep sees it, and that now becomes the third one in the queue, in this list of queues. We're also going to add the sales queue, and the sales filter is basically going to be the same type of filter as the support queue, except it's going to be the sales team. So we're going to say the assigned group is sales, and we're going to say the same condition, the status less than or equal to pending. Now, as you can see here, there's two add condition buttons. We added the conditions, and we have these two different add condition buttons. And then we're going to create one more filter after this, and we're going to explain what you do with these two different types of conditions. One is called an all, one is called an any. So we're going to assign this one to the sales group. So only the sales agents see it. And again, it's down at the bottom. You want to move it up so that the sales agents see it. And we're going to create a third filter. This filter is going to be called our escalations filter for our escalations manager. And in this filter, I'm going to show you how to use the all versus the any condition, or when to use which. So if you remember, we have a group called escalations, and we also had a label that we created called escalations. So how are we going to tell it that it could be either in the escalations group or it can have the escalations label? That you would do in an any condition. And basically the difference between an all and an any condition is the case would have to meet all of the conditions, or the case can meet any of the conditions. So what we're going to say here is if the case contains either the escalations label or it's in the group escalations, then we're going to show it in this filter. So, but we still only want to show the active one. So in the all condition, we're going to say the status less than or equal to pending. So if you look at the context of this, this case would have to meet all of these conditions and either of these conditions. So if it's one or the other, it'll work. So this way, this helps you to not have to create a separate filter for each condition. You can group them into one filter. And of course, I'm going to set the permissions on this to the escalations group so the managers see it, and then we're going to update this case. Oh, excuse me, update that filter. Again, it's down at the bottom. We probably want to move it up. You can also change the numbers here. If you want to change the order that they're in, you can just hit the number and then save it. So if I wanted to make this the number 3, if you look over here, it's below escalation. You saved it and now it's above. So you can either drag and drop or you can change the number. So we're getting there. We're almost. So now we have everything set up to handle the inbound email, assign it to the right group, make sure the right agents see it, and you have your queues set up so you can see the cases in the correct filter. There's one more step we want to take though, and this is to create an outbound rule. So one thing I didn't point out before, which I'm going to point out now, is when you create your inbound mailbox, it creates a corresponding outbound mailbox. And I'm going to delete these here. These were created from a previous demo that I did. So this is what your outbound mailboxes should look like. So you have your support mailbox and you have your sales mailbox. What we're going to do is we're going to tell Desk that when a case comes in and gets assigned to the support group, we want it to go out from this mailbox because this is the one we want to see for our support emails. And then when a case comes in and gets assigned to the sales group, we want it to go out of this mailbox because this is the one that is for sales emails. So the way we do this is with rules. We're going to go to cases, rules, and then outbound interaction rules. And as you can see, there's no rules here by default. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a rule that sets the support mailbox. We're going to check only email because we only want to send it to this mailbox when it's an email. And the condition of this rule, similar to filters, is going to be the case assigned group is support. But in this case, in addition to the add condition buttons, we have a lot of different conditions in here, a lot more than we have in filters. You can also add an action, so you can actually do something with it in a rule as opposed to it being a search like a filter is. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it that if an outbound email from Desk is assigned to the support group, we want to send it through the support filter. And then we just enable it. You can tell it when you want it to run. In this case, we want it to run anytime. And then update it. And then we're going to do the same thing for the sales mailbox. And actually, one thing I'm going to point out, I'm going to do something different here, is I'm going to use the copy button. So as you can see, the sales rule is going to be similar. So I'm just going to make a copy of it using the copy button. And then I'm just going to change it to say sales, and then to say the sales mailbox here. We're going to enable it. We're going to call it set the sales mailbox. So the copy button, when you're first setting up, is going to be your best friend because a lot of your rules are going to be similar. They're just going to have one or two conditions that are different, or the same thing with your filters. So what we've done here now with these, with everything that we just did, we created our workflow. What we're going to do is we're going to look at this from the agent end of things, because it's going to be different for each agent. So if you remember, my agent Bob, which is me, is in the managers group and in the support group. So as you can see, Bob sees these cases that belong to the support team, and he also sees the managers queue, the escalation queue. I'm going to minimize this for a second, and I'm going to bring over another window. So now this is my agent, Mike. And if you remember, Mike is the sales manager, and he's also in the escalation queue. So as you can see, Mike sees only the sales queue, but he doesn't see the support queue, and Bob sees only the support queue and doesn't see the sales queue because they work in different departments. So I just wanted to point that one out. That you're gonna see different behavior based on what filters and permissions that you set. So if you remember, we set the team, Mike, to be on the sales team. We assign the mailbox for sales to the sales team, to the sales group, and then we set the filter conditions for the filter to be only seen by the sales team, and then we did the same thing for the support team. So if you remember, we also created that escalations label. And let's say another agent is looking at the queue and wants to escalate a case to the managers. So this guy's upset. He says, I want a refund. You guys stink. The agent picks up the case and says, oh no, what do I do with this? I need to escalate it to somebody. He's going to escalate it to his manager. As you can see, I did not set the group to be escalations here. I only set the label. And I update the case. And what you're going to see is this case is going to pop into the escalations queue. What's going on here? There it is. I'm not sure why I had to do that, but so now this case is in the escalations queue. You can add a note to say, why did I need a refund? Send a note to the person that you're sending it to, which I did already here on August 18th. And as you can see, even though Bob and Mike are on different teams, they both see the escalations queue and they both see the same case. So they can work on it as they see fit. So as you can see, I have another customer here who's a little upset and he wants a refund as well. So instead of assigning the label, I'm gonna leave the label unassigned. I'm just gonna assign it to the group. And to speed this up a little bit, I'm just gonna refresh my screen. And as you can see now, this is also in the escalations filter. And that's because we used, if you remember back when we were doing the filter, we used the any condition. So it said it's got the escalations group or the escalations label, then put it in the escalations group. And as you can see here, there's two cases in here that don't have the same conditions, but they met the conditions of the filter. So that's really it. I've explained how to create the agents, create groups, create mailboxes, filters, rules, and a label. And we built a workflow for two different groups and escalations. And also our escalations team. I hope that you found this webinar helpful. If you had any questions, please let me know. You can email questions to support@Desk.com if you had any questions during your setup or if you have questions about how things work in the admin, and we'd be happy to help you. I'm going to switch this back to Brian.
All right, thanks, Bob. So let's go ahead and just wrap up the session here. So, um, as Bob was saying, if you do have questions, please feel free to contact our support team at support@desk.com. You can also contact us through support.desk.com. That's going to be our resource page where you can find helpful articles. Also, there'll be a contact form there also. Also, you can also visit our previous webinars through our YouTube page. Specifically, if you go to the Desk.com YouTube page, you can find the onboarding webinars and find the previous sessions where we talk about other videos about the admin console, talk about the agent, as well as talking about other features of Desk such as Business Insights and Desk Connect. I do thank you guys for all of your time, and Bob, I thank you for joining here today. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.